the golden astronauts. Been enamored with the idea of them since first encountering it last year. Like the Willy Wonka prize in a chocolate bar, although they were standard production items. This is what my brain makes of things like that. You got the golden astronaut. And as originally made, they were packaged in these rack toy sets by multiple toy makers. And Triang over in England. Here's the Moon Prospector with a golden astronaut as packaged for the GA line, as I call it for short. Here's the same vehicle packaged as the Explorer MEV-2 for the SpaceX line. Each of them gets a little dude, not necessarily in scale to the vehicle. The approach was also used apparently by their maker, LP Toys, for a sort of a shadow line called the Apollo Moon Exploring sets, which are remarkably similar, and you get more stuff, although the golden astronaut things made by multiple toy makers were of a little bit higher quality. Not much, and this was from the era when space toys were sort of becoming disposable, and you weren't really, it wasn't really meant to last, which is why they become collectible. Things like that become hard to find because they weren't supposed to last. And I just have a thing for the golden astronaut figures, and you know, you're gonna, as I've mentioned before, you're gonna find collecting topics at some point that you can't pass it up. And one of the ones for me are the golden astronauts. LP Toys Spacemen as well. Here's the rifle dude, and I'd already had a couple of examples, but as you can see, that one, the barrel of his rifle is compromised on that dude there in front of the white guy. And this one was very oddly cast without a base, and his rifle is also compromised, so we kind of keep him off to the side. But I was like, you know what? I want a pristine example of that pose, and working my way through getting one of each. Oh. And when setting up for this, I realized, you know what, I don't have two Lucy's of those two poses there. I guess it's a grenade in one and a pistol in the other. Well, there's the pistol guy wrapped up in the SpaceX MEV-2. And here's the grenade dude on an Apollo Moon Exploring with the saucer and a flipper. He's a flipper. Long day at the plant. Here's another one here with this space cruiser. They were reduced down from what would be maybe, I think they're 56 millimeter. The LP figures were a little bit taller than the standard 54 millimeter, 1 to 32 scale. They're still 1 to 32 scale, but they stand a little bit taller. And I've got out a full-size example of each there behind the Goldens, and then in front of them are other reduced-sized versions. The gray and the white ones are from Blue Shield Apollo capsule cake decorating sets. The two painted ones there came out of something like the space exploring setup here. And there's another Apollo capsule blue shield type figure. Interestingly, that one there also cast without a base. I'm not sure if LP made these. A lot of different companies made them. The very small 30 millimeter size. I've got a assortment of them here. I believe these are copies that were made by multiple toy makers copying LP toys. Some of them are of better quality sculpting than others, that's for sure. And a discovery only made the other day for at least for my eyes, is that the golden astronauts are actually they look to be just a hair taller than those guys. Yeah, he's just a hair taller and bigger in proportion in the gilded version to the left compared to the painted version to the right. So LP Toys themselves made at least 2 different molds for these things. Some that were cast like that. This is sort of a harder plastic, and this is actually kind of a flexible, softer plastic. So they were casting multiple sizes of them, and whether or not they did the small one, I don't know. The sculpting is noticeably different. I don't have a version of that pose out right now, but you can hopefully see, if I adjust the lighting especially, how the ribbing on his suit legs are very different all the way to the left than the other two, and that they're all of a slightly different size. And there's even they did a 4-inch, 4.5, 5-inch series of the LP figures. I've got a couple. I didn't feel like digging them out. Here's a screen grab of the Triang SpaceX website's visual guide to the Golden Astronauts. 14 poses in all, 8 based on LP Toys Spacemen, and 6 based on MPC designed Spacemen. Here's the first group, top to bottom, front to back. If my understanding is correct, all were manufactured by LP Toys. Usually they would logo mark their own designs. The ones designed based on MPC Spacemen would not be logo marked. And some of these look kind of gold, some look kind of silver, because it's a dye painted over a chrome finish added to the Spacemen after they came out of the mold. Some got a more concentrated dose than others, and some were even kept chromed for other purposes. And I'm obsessed especially with the multiple toy makers versions, and it was when preparing for this video that I realized, you know what, I'm still missing one of the multiple toy maker poses. I might have it sealed up in something. I'd have to turn the lights on and get them down and compare it, and I don't really... There's something insectoid-like about how their limbs are proportioned relative to the body. And those 3 were 3 of 4 poses that were adapted from the 5.5-inch figures, like the ones I've been painting. And then these 2 here were adapted from the 54mm MPC Spacemen, and are the smallest of them all at about 25mm. Referring to them as HO scale is probably technically correct, although I'm not sure myself. I'm not into trains. Hey, here's another thought about these things: as we're looking at them right here, they're armed. They're actually very heavily armed. I think he's supposed to be carrying an atom bomb on his shoulder, and there's a space grenade, some sort of a sonic grenade. Who knows what that device does there? He's got a rifle. There's another rifle. One thought that I came to, it struck me when I was thinking about how multiple toy makers themselves took the guns out of their sets, is that after 1958, Marx's spacemen were not armed. All of their spacemen made in the 1960s, all the spacemen made by Marx in the 1960s were unarmed. They gave them atom bomb rockets back at the Cape Canaveral Missile Base, but on their own, they were not carrying weapons. Multiple toy makers had their figures were carrying weapons at least until 1968. For the 54mm size. I'm not sure how long they were making the 5.5-inch size, but weapons were an important part of that crew as well. And this is the most openly militaristic of the 1960s Spacemen figures that I can think of. I'm pretty sure LP was making their Golden Astronauts up until 1970 or 1971. the whole bottom fell out of the plastic space toy market in about 1972 after the Apollo program had ended and space no longer became fashionable for a while until Star Wars kicked it back up. But these are exactly the kind of toy sets that I would have done not so when I was a kid. I would have had the whole line. I would have been going back to get seconds too after destroying them. Although sadly, since the line flourished most between like 1968 and 1971 and 1972, I was too young to have any of these. My parents would not have been getting us flimsy, plastic, colorful made in Hong Kong toys anyway, but this is exactly the kind of crap that my dad would have said, nope, that's just going to be broken in 20 minutes because that's what it was made for. And that's why they were priced for, as little as they were, 50 cents or 40 cents, and you just destroy one every other week. Collect the whole set, And with the magic of eBay and Etsy, you can have all those toys that you missed when you were a kid and you knew you would have gone nuts over. Well, anyway. We'll get back to it. We got another rifle dude though. And he is pristine. Many thanks to our kind vendor. Stay safe out there.